So today we have our last piece of the free agency special. That is right. We will be breaking down all of your top options at backup center for the Sixers in this upcoming free agency. Let's go.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into Philly Take with RB. Like always, be sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this content. Subscribe to the channel for more. And be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Speaking of which, the next few days leading into the NBA draft, we will be going live, discussing prospects, talking about whether the Sixers will be keeping that pick. You don't want to miss any of the content, so be sure to stay up to date. And getting back to today, you might be wondering, well, this is only the fourth video of this series. What happened to all five? Well, I decided, looking through some of the free agents and thinking about where the Sixers team is at, because obviously all this is based on fit, right? I figured that the Sixers aren't really going to do anything in free agency at power forward, so it would be kind of a waste, right? You might end up trading Tobias. That could happen. And I think an upgrade would come via trade or, maybe creating some cap flexibility and finding an upgrade. I just don't know if it would be in free agency. And let's be honest, the power forward position is not really that deep. We'll talk about one person today, but I just don't feel it is a necessity for this team. Obviously, you have George Niang, so I think we're going to build around that. And I figured we would just go right to a more glaring need, and that is the backup center. And speaking of which, before we get into that, I'll just name one power forward that I think could be a target for this Sixers team, and that is Chris Boucher. Unrestricted free agent coming from the Toronto Raptors. He's at a point in his career. He started a little bit late, so he's, almost 30 years old, but a guy that's had some inconsistency knocking down shots, but he can grab rebounds. He can help space the floor, and when he gets hot, Sixers fans know this best. He had some pretty good games against us. He can knock down some shots, so maybe a guy I could see on maybe a mid-level exception contract or something of that nature. I don't know if he'll get a lot of money in free agency. But I do know some teams will be interested, and if there is one guy I could see potentially being a target, it might be Chris Boucher. But the ultimate need, the backup center, what will the Sixers do? Obviously, losing Andre Drummond this past year was, very hurtful, right? We needed somebody to come in. Doc Rivers didn't want to rely on the young guys. And before I give my top three, I just want to note really quickly that in terms of Charles Bassey, okay, this guy's young. He's shown a lot of promise in the time and the potential, minutes that he could have gotten. I think he could have made an impact. In the time that he actually did get, he showed some promise, right? An elite shot blocker, coming out of college, a guy who was highly coveted. The Sixers took him in the second round. Sure, he needs to be polished. He has a long way to go. But just seeing this guy, seeing his vertical, right? Some of the plays he was able to make in his limited action. I think Charles Bassey and utilizing him might be the best option for the Philadelphia 76ers going forward, especially, as he's not making some, big amount of money like a couple other guys may. And I just don't know if the Sixers will go that direction, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I think Charles Bassey should continue to get an increased chance at this role, and we'll see if he's able to go ahead and take that. I know he's working hard this offseason. But anyway, getting into our list, number one on my top backup center targets, it's Andre Drummond. And, seeing with the Sixers uniform here, he was beloved by this city in just a small amount of time. His energy, what he was able to bring, going from, one of the arch nemesis of Joel Embiid and then, becoming loved here in Philadelphia. He was great, right? He gave us 10 and 8 off the bench all the time. Sure, he got into some foul trouble. Sure, his defense was a little bit iffy at times. But overall, Andre Drummond was the best backup center Joel Embiid ever had in his career. And Andre Drummond, a guy who's still technically in his prime and has had an interesting career once being an all-star and then really having to adapt his game. I think Andre Drummond has definitely continued to improve in different areas. And obviously, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Sixers had traded him in the Ben Simmons trade, and now he ends the season off with the Nets. The only problem I see here is that I feel Andre Drummond might go out and get maybe a starting salary somewhere. I think teams looked at him at both his time in Philly and then being a starter for Brooklyn. I know he didn't have a good postseason, but Andre Drummond is still a guy that can go out there, And honestly, as a starter, he could probably get you 15 boards a night. Like, he brings the energy. I don't know if starting is really the best role for him, and maybe he views that. Maybe he views the chance, to come back to a city that really welcomed him, a city that still shows him love, maybe an opportunity where he feels he can win, and just playing behind the best center in the game. Maybe he wants to test another year before he goes out and tries to make more money. Really an up and down career as of the last few years, but I think he solidified himself this last year. Hey, if someone goes out and pays him more and he takes it, shout out to Andre, go get your bag. But I would love Andre Drummond. I think he'd be perfect back in Philadelphia. A lot of people can talk about, well, we should have never traded him. Well, you have to give to get. It sucks. But if there's a way to bring him back and make this happen, I think Andre Drummond would be again, a perfect backup behind Joel Embiid, and I think he would really take care of that void. The second guy on my list, if a guy like Andre Drummond is not available, that takes us to DeMarcus Cousins, another guy who is an unrestricted free agent. Now, he's a little bit older in his career. He's going to be 32 this upcoming year. He's been playing on like a minimum contract with the Denver Nuggets. And let's be honest, he showed a little bit of potential. Obviously, not once, but he was, an all-star and a guy who was highly coveted by everybody, right? A dominant center. The game has changed, and with that, you have to change as well. DeMarcus Cousins has learned a little bit, in a continued role to, knock down some shots. He's not perfect. He's not great or anything like that, but he'll try to stretch the floor a bit. Obviously not as fast as he once was either. Those couple injuries really derailed him. But at the end of the day, DeMarcus Cousins, another guy that could come in, give you 15 minutes a night, probably give you 8 to 10 off the bench, snag some boards, and more importantly for this Sixers team, bring that energy level, right? Another dog. He kind of fits the mold of what this Sixers team has tried to do in the Daryl Morey tenure, which is go out and get an experienced vet, maybe a guy who's had a little bit of a downfall, and give them another shot. You think about Dwight Howard, you think about Andre Drummond. DeMarcus Cousins kind of fits in with that category. And if there are no other options available, I don't think this team could ever bring a guy like Dwight Howard back. But if Boogie's available and he sees the opportunity to come be a backup behind Joel Embiid, I think he would be all in for it. But we'll see what his interest level is like. We'll see what the contract's like. I don't really expect him to get a lot. Sure, you still have the injury concern. How long can Boogie play? How many minutes can you give? And can he really hold down the fortress when Joel's on the bench? I don't know. But what I do know, he still has a little left in the tank, so definitely another guy to keep your eyes on. And the last guy of the day is JaVale McGee, who spent this last year with Phoenix. We know at one time in his career, JaVale was a laughingstock. Then he went to who? The champion Golden State Warriors, where they seem to really revive the culture and just, the character, right, of these guys. And, JaVale became a decent backup center. Again, nothing too special. Now, he is a guy that can knock down a shot here and there, and he can man down the fort. He's got experience. He's played with winners. And really, just another guy that is going to give you maybe 8 points off the bench a game and grab some rebounds, right? And he can play a little bit of, pick and roll defense. He's nothing crazy. He could spot up in the corner once in a while. But again, fitting that mold, just another center, that has experience, that's a veteran. And instead of going out and maybe giving a young guy a chance, which I think we should do, like I said, with Charles Bassey, maybe you go out and get another vet. If nobody else is available, you get him for cheap, right? Probably a few $1 million in JaVale McGee. He'll probably be bouncing around. I don't know if Sixers fans would, give him a warm reception. I feel like it would kind of go over weird with the fans. But then again, so did Andre Drummond. So did Dwight Howard. Every single time we sign one of these older backup centers, everybody loses their mind. And I try to tell them, just take a little chill pill. Let's see what they can do. Let's see how you maximize that role. Because you got to realize that playing behind a guy like Joel Embiid is much different than having to go in and play 20 minutes a game. Like, the pressure is a lot, different under Joel Embiid. Like, you really don't have any. You really don't have any unless he gets injured and you have to step in. But you come in, you maximize your 10 to 15 minutes a game, you're perfectly fine. And then you're going out and earning another contract. So I do think a lot of guys would see this as a great opportunity, especially to play with one of the best talents in the game and just learn more from him, because we all know you can never stop learning. But at the end of the day, those are the guys and where I see this free agent market being at. there's a few younger guys, but they're dealing with injury issues, and I just don't see the Sixers doing that. I think they're either going to go out and sign an experienced veteran center or go out and try to give Charles Bassey more of a role. I hope they do. Bassey has shown his athleticism. I really think a whole offseason, that we're about to have now, and just more time, just more chances to show what he has. I really think Bassey could be that next big backup center, and he could be here for a while. He has shown that potential. He showed the shot blocking capabilities in college. He's just a little raw, and we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But that is going to conclude our free agency special. If you have not yet, check out all of our breakdowns by position for this team. Like we've been saying, not a very deep free agent class. The Sixers will have to make things work, couple minimum deals, try to find those diamonds in the rough. But really, we're going to have to see what happens with the big dog contracts on this team, and really what we do in the draft coming up on Thursday night. Will we make a trade, get a veteran player? We'll be breaking it down all week. As always, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And like always, I will catch you on the next one, man. Peace.
Perfect.